If you dig half a meter below the modern streets of London, you will find something strange. It isn't gold, and it isn't marble ruins. It is a layer of red, greasy earth filled with ash. Archaeologists call it the Boudican destruction layer. This scar in the soil is all that remains of an entire city. It marks the exact moment in the year 60 AD when the city didn't just burn. It was wiped off the map at temperatures so high they melted pottery and glass. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't a common fire. It was an act of pure hatred. Imagine the smell of burning flesh mixed with timber. Imagine the screams of thousands of civilians, merchants, women, the elderly, being slaughtered without mercy while their governor, the man responsible for protecting them, marched away, leaving them to die. This is the story of how a single woman, driven by unimaginable pain, brought the Roman Empire to its knees. This is the story of Boudica, the warrior queen, and General Suetonius Paulinus, the man of ice who had to sacrifice innocence to save a province. The price of arrogance. It all started with a bureaucratic error that turned into a war crime. We are in Britannia, an island at the edge of the known world, a land of mist, dense forests, and warriors who painted their bodies blue. Rome had invaded the island decades earlier, but control was tenuous. In the region of Norfolk lived the tribe of the Iceni. Their king, Prasutagus, was a friend of Rome. He knew the empire was greedy. So, in his will, he tried a final diplomatic gamble. He left half his kingdom to the Emperor Nero, and the other half to his two daughters. He thought that by buying off Rome's greed, he would ensure his family's safety. He was wrong. When Prasutagus died, the local Roman procurator, Catus Decianus, a corrupt and petty bureaucrat, ignored the will. He decided that everything belonged to Rome, the land, the livestock, the gold. But Prasutagus's widow, Queen Boudica, did not accept this in silence. She protested. She demanded justice. And Rome's response was a calculated brutality designed to break the spirit of anyone watching. Roman soldiers invaded the royal household. They dragged Boudica outside, tied her to a post, and flogged her in front of her own people, tearing the queen's back open with leather whips. But that wasn't the worst part. While the queen bled and screamed, helpless, the Roman soldiers took her two teenage daughters. And there, under the eyes of their mother and the tribe, they brutally raped them. The Romans thought this public humiliation would break the Iceni. They thought that by destroying the dignity of the royal family, the tribe would cower in fear. Instead, they created a monster. Boudica didn't break. On that day, the queen died, and the Avenger was born. Historian Cassius Dio describes her as a terrifyingly tall woman, with fierce eyes and a mass of red hair that fell to her hips. She wore a thick, twisted gold necklace around her neck, a Celtic symbol of power. She didn't want land. She didn't want gold. She wanted blood. News of what the Romans had done spread like wildfire in dry straw. Other tribes, like the Trinovantes, who also suffered under the Roman boot, joined her. In a short time, Boudica didn't have a band of rebels. She had a horde. Numbers vary. Roman sources speak of 120,000, even up to 230,000 warriors. Even if exaggerated, it was a force of nature, a human wave driven by generational hatred. The first target was Camulodunum, modern-day Colchester, the Roman capital in Britannia. The city had no walls. The Roman veterans living there, retired and fat, begged for help, but received only 200 poorly armed soldiers. It was a massacre. The rebels burned everything. The last survivors took refuge in the temple of Emperor Claudius. They held out for 2 days. On the third, the doors were smashed in. No one was spared. They cut off the Romans' heads. They tortured the prisoners. Boudica was just getting started. While the east of Britannia burned, Governor Gaius Suetonius Paulinus was on the other side of the island, in Wales, exterminating the Druids on the island of Mona. When he heard of the revolt, he realized the scale of the disaster. He marched in haste to Londinium, London. London at the time wasn't the capital, but it was the province's beating commercial heart. Thousands of Roman merchants and their families lived there. When Suetonius arrived with his vanguard, he saw terror in the eyes of the population. They begged for protection. They clung to the legionaries' legs, pleading not to be left behind. Suetonius looked at his numbers. He had few troops with him. If he tried to defend London against Boudica's horde inside the city, he would be surrounded and destroyed. And if he died, Britannia would be lost forever. So he made one of the coldest decisions in military history. The historian Tacitus wrote the sentence that defines this man. He decided to sacrifice a city to save the entire province. Suetonius ordered the retreat. He allowed those who could walk to join the army. But the old, the sick, the pregnant women, and those too attached to their homes were left behind. Imagine watching the Roman eagles, the symbol of your protection, turning their backs and marching away, while the dust of the enemy horde appeared on the horizon. Boudica arrived soon after. There was no mercy. London was burned to the ground. The destruction layer I mentioned at the start is the physical proof of this day. Those who didn't burn were crucified, hanged, or had their throats cut. Next, the city of Verulamium, St. Albans, suffered the same fate. It is estimated that 70,000 Roman citizens and British allies were killed in these three cities. Boudica was undefeated. She had destroyed 3 cities and defeated a legion, the 9th Hispana, that tried to stop her. Her warriors were drunk on victory and loot. They believed the Celtic gods had finally abandoned Rome. But Suetonius Paulinus was not running away. He was choosing where to kill. He knew he couldn't win in open ground. The numbers were impossible. Perhaps 10,000 Romans against hundreds of thousands of Britons. He needed to nullify that numerical advantage. He chose a location along the Roman road known as Watling Street. It was a narrow gorge, protected by steep hills on the sides and a dense forest in the rear. This meant the Romans couldn't be flanked. And more importantly, it meant Boudica's massive horde would have to squeeze together to attack them. Only a limited number of Celts could fight at a time. Suetonius turned the battlefield into a funnel. He positioned his legionaries in the center in close ranks, auxiliary spearmen on the sides, and cavalry on the extreme wings. On the other side, the Celtic horde arrived. They were a terrifying and chaotic sight. They screamed, banged on their shields, and blew war trumpets called carnix. They were so confident in victory that they brought their families, wives, grandparents, children, in hundreds of wagons to watch the battle. They parked these wagons in a semicircle at the rear of the Celtic army, blocking the exit. They created a grandstand for the massacre. Little did they know, they had just built the wall against which they would be crushed. Boudica, in her war chariot, with her daughters by her side, rode along the lines. "I am not fighting as a queen for her lost kingdom," she screamed, "but as a common woman, avenging my lost freedom, my flogged body, and the outraged chastity of my daughters." The barbarians roared. On the Roman side, silence. Suetonius walked between the lines. "Do not fear that savage noise," he said. "There are more women than warriors there. They will break as soon as they feel Roman iron." The Celtic horde charged. They ran down the gorge, a disordered mass, narrowing as the terrain funneled them in. The Romans did not move. They waited. They waited until they could see the whites of the enemy's eyes. When the Celtic mass was about 15 meters away, Suetonius gave the order. "Iacite pila," throw javelins. Thousands of pila, heavy javelins with soft iron tips, flew in unison. They pierced shields and bodies. The weight of the javelins rendered the Celtic shields useless, forcing the warriors to drop them. The Celtic charge stalled, confused and wounded. And then, the sound every enemy of Rome feared, the drawing of short swords, the gladi. Suetonius ordered the wedge formation, cuneum formate. The legions advanced like saw teeth, cutting into the disorganized mass of Britons. Roman discipline collided with Celtic fury. In the confined space of the gorge, Boudica's numerical superiority was useless. The Celts in the front were pushed onto Roman swords by the men behind, who couldn't see what was happening. It was an industrial meat grinder. Shield bashed to the face, sword thrust to the gut. Step forward, repeat. Step forward, repeat. When the Britons realized they were losing, panic set in. They tried to run, but there was nowhere to go. Their families' wagons blocked the exit. The retreat turned into a human traffic jam. Panicked warriors crushed themselves against the vehicles and pack animals, and the Romans came right behind them. Suetonius's order was clear: total extermination. The legionaries didn't stop at the warriors. They killed the women in the wagons. They killed the children. They even killed the horses and pack oxen. Tacitus reports that the piles of corpses reached the height of the wagons. It is estimated that 80,000 Britons died that day. The Romans lost only 400 men. Boudica survived the battle, but not the defeat. According to Tacitus, she took poison to avoid capture. According to Dio, she fell sick and died. She was given a funeral worthy of a queen in a secret location that has never been found. The rebellion was over. Rome held Britannia for another 350 years, but the scar remained. The red layer under London is still there, reminding us that the empire, for all its civilization and stone roads, was built on bones, ash, and the suffering of those who dared to say no. Rome won the battle, but the image of Boudica, the furious mother in her chariot, became immortal. She is the eternal nightmare of every empire, the proof that you can burn a city, but you cannot burn the will for vengeance. If you enjoyed this brutal history, leave a like and subscribe. Comment below, would you have done what Suetonius did and abandoned London? Or would you have stayed to fight and die? Keep the standard high. Until next time, legionaries.